Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate in Game of Thrones. Final Fantasy podcast. I am Joe.
I am Caleb.
And today we're going to be talking about not Game of Thrones, which just ended last night. Although me and Schweiss were talking about it for the last 30 minutes, and we were supposed to record earlier. We haven't.
We were. We really were.
And today we're actually going to be talking about Mystic Quest. Final Fantasy... Excuse me. Wow. Got some spit in my mouth. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, which we both finished recently. I finished it about a week ago. Schweiss, when did you finish this game?
I think it's been like 4 or 5 days.
Okay. So we both finished it a little bit ago. I was, of course, happily like 3 games ahead for last week, and now I am simply on track.
Yeah.
which is sad, because the next game is Final Fantasy The Four Heroes of Light. Schweiss, this is the 4th to last game. We're in our final 4 games for the weekly show of Ultima Final Fantasy. At the end of this, Schweiss, me and you will have completed every true console Final Fantasy game.
I know, man. It's something else. I'll tell you what. I mean, today also marks our 5-year anniversary since our first episode went live.
Is it the 20th?
It is, yeah.
Oh shit.
It's not it's not been 5 years since we recorded our first episode, but it has been 5 years since that thing was published. So, guys, it's been one hell of a journey. I'm sure most of you could probably finish it in way less time than we did. But, you know what? Yeah, you got some insight into our lives, insight into what was going on during the time while we were doing this 5+ year journey for the Final Fantasy series. So, I don't know, I just want to thank you guys for staying with us for so long. You know, like it's really amazing. There are so many of you. We've been going through the old episodes. So we want to do like a farewell, like best of episode kind of a deal, you know. And
I dare you give it away.
I know.
That's supposed to be a secret.
I know, so look forward to that. But we wanted to do that, so we've been listening to our old stuff, and it's crazy to hear some of the names that are popping up, like getting reviews and contacts from like Darth Jamu and then Gage Klein, like all of these people that have been with us for 5 years. And it's crazy. I just want to thank you all for hanging out with us for this long, for putting up with us for so long, to be completely honest. Like, some of those old ones, man. Whew. I don't think I want to listen to it, let alone you guys, so.
I mean, some of the new ones. That's how I kind of feel. I don't know. I remember that fucking Advent Children episode where only your audio was coming through. That was not that long ago. So
Yeah, that's true.
This show has been a flawed but very long journey for a very long time. But yeah, 5 years. We're almost done with the games. 4 games. 3 games left now. 3 Final Fantasy games left.
Yeah, including one giant pain in the ass one, apparently, which is the next one.
Yeah, I'm about midway through Final Fantasy The Four Heroes of Light, also called Final Fantasy Gaiden in other parts of the world. It is pretty well known for those who have played it as a difficult game. Although Explorers and World of Final Fantasy are not supposed to be very difficult. They're supposed to be long, but they're not supposed to be hard. This one is just hard.
Yeah, this one's long, hard, and full of semen. Right? It's the fucking submarine joke.
Wow. I can't get past that one. Hold on. Let me think.
Yeah, there's the middle school joke for the day.
There's no semen yet. Oh no, yeah, there's some sailing shit. So yeah, I guess maybe.
No, there's definitely a little mini penis I saw with some arms.
Oh yeah, please visit my Twitter page in order to find out more about that.
Yeah,
there's a little ghost penis in there.
That's right.
In the graphics. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, I'm about midway through 4 Heroes of Light. Have you started it?
Yeah. Oh man, I am like 20 minutes in. So it's a very difficult game, and I ground out a couple things. I got like the first pieces of equipment in the town, and then I was like, you know what? Let's go visit this cave that I'm supposed to go visit. Walk in, can't see. I'm like, fine, I'll go find a torch. So I went and bought a torch, sold some of my goods to buy the torch because you don't get jack for money in this game so far anyway. Mm-hmm. Went in, found some dudes, killed some dudes along the way, and then I died to the boss and I lost everything. So I haven't...
Did you not save?
No, I mean I did. I just lost a bunch of grinding along the way to the boss is all. And
no, you don't lose your grinding on the way. You didn't turn off the thing, did you?
No, I did.
Oh, you did? There's a trick to that game. I'll tell you about it later, I guess.
Okay.
There is like one forgivable aspect about that game that's kind of nice. And it's very similar to some of the forgiving aspects in Mystic Quest. But it's a much harder game than Mystic Quest. So let's, do you want to dive into Mystic Quest?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, so Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Let's talk about development a little bit. This game, this is early 90s right now. It was released October 5th, 1992 in North America, which is where it was first released. I'm sorry, no, it was first released in Japan in September and then released in North America in October 5th, 1992, and then in Europe a year later in 1993. This game was specifically geared for a U.S. market. And what do you think that means, Schweiss? We've only talked about it like 60 times on the show.
Yeah, it means it's easy because they think we take the easy way out. You know,
that's right. So one of the things they did for Final Fantasy IV was they made the North American release slightly easier than the Japanese version. And another thing they did was create Mystic Quest for the American audience. So they believe that Americans shied away from RPGs due to their difficulty, and they wanted this game to be like a introductive RPG game that even children can play, aka Americans. And so that's what they set out to do. They set out to make a really easy RPG that could further the Final Fantasy brand name in North America. And let me tell you, it paid off. No. They took a lot from, apparently, Saga 3, which is Final Fantasy Legend 3, which is not a true Final Fantasy. And they included a lot of similar battle systems from that game and straight up borrowed and enhanced sprites from Final Fantasy Legend 3. They also, in Japan, they called this game Final Fantasy USA a Mystic Quest.
What?
Yes, they did. This is Final Fantasy USA. And in PAL regions, because Mystic Quest was the European title of Final Fantasy Adventure, they went ahead and called this Mystic Quest Legend. So there you go. Look at that. And they sold the game here at a discounted $39.99 instead of the regular, I think it was $50 or $60 back then for games. It's $60 now. I'm thinking it might have been $50 back then, but I'm not entirely sure. It might have been $60 the whole time, and like just inflation has slowly caught up where that's not like a ridiculously horrible price anymore.
Yeah, I remember PS2 games were $49 on release.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so that's crazy that they were $49.99 back then as well.
Back then, yeah. This was a discounted game at $40, so $39.99. It was, geared for kids, and it came with the strategy guide.
Oh, okay. So we're cheap, lazy, and stupid over here. Is that what it is? Okay.
It's all three of those things, which I mean, to harken back to an older episode, we knew that FF4 had been, of course, it was released as FF2 here on the Super NES.
Right.
But FF4 was made easier for North American players. And then when they released that Final Fantasy 15 demo, it was just interesting how things had changed. Or at least like a good glimpse into perception versus reality on Japanese players versus the North American players.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese players, by far, way more of them thought that the Final Fantasy 15 episode Disque demo, which is the same in both regions, was too difficult than the North American players did. So I just thought I remember when we looked at that infographic or that video that Hajime Tabata put out, where they were talking about like the results of their survey after episode Disque. I just thought that was like really interesting that the Japanese players thought that the game was too hard in comparison to the North American players.
Yeah. How things switch.
And I was just like, America and fuck you.
Yeah, it's that meme, like, don't make me come over there again, old man. Like, how many times do we gotta tell you, old man? That's SpongeBob meme.
Just to underline the prejudice of the Japanese. This is really...
Yeah.
They can't handle it. It's too easy, guys. Or it's too hard, guys. We gotta make an easy game for the American players.
They're children. Don't you see what they do? They just bomb us instead of coming inland like men.
Yeah.
They're children with their cheap tech. Give them this children's game. We'll call it FFUS.
They're children with their Manhattan projects.
Yeah. Bullshit. What is Manhattan Project compared to honor and duty? That is interesting, though.
We're bringing back the Final Fantasy conflict all the way back to World War II, goddammit.
Yeah. That's where it started it all. And now they love us. Now they're like, yeah, America makes us more money than Japan does.
At least with the Final Fantasy brand, that is true.
Yeah.
It was directed by Kauzi Ide, who didn't have a Wikipedia page, so I didn't look him up. And it was written by Chihiro Fujioka and Yoshihiko Maekawa. Now I have a little I have a theory. All right, Schweiss, this is definitely a concrete theory. I do believe that the story of this game is purely based upon an actual game of D&D that they wrote down the entire plot of.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. It's not real, but that's how the fucking story feels like. We'll get to that in a bit. And the music was by Ryuji Sasai and Yasuhiro Kawakami. So there is something interesting about this. Yasuhiro Kawakami. He's kind of, I think he's actually like a game designer, and then he does some of the music for some of the games he works on. At least that's kind of like what I gathered from something else I saw. But I gotta show you this Ryuji Sasai guy. All right, I'm just gonna read off his Wikipedia page because I clicked on his name and I was like, "What the fuck? What?" He's best known for his video game composition work. He was born in 1961, so he's in his late 50s right now. He worked on a game called Zack. He worked on Final Fantasy Legend 3, aka Saga 3, and he worked on Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Noted for his rock style, and apparently he had a band. He wanted to enter the anime industry. He scored a little bit of TV and then some films. He was a freelancer, and he was employed at Square from 1991 to 1998, where he worked on 5 games in total. So, our thing is, though, I think, like, he he took a hiatus during the peak of his career. That's what he did. And then he was... there were some circumstances within the companies he's working on, and he just never worked on a game again. He's been given no other assignment since 1998, and currently, Schweiss, I want you to guess, as a musician, what he does right now. At 57 years old.
I'm guessing that I'm going to go crazy here. I think he makes music for porn.
No, that's a pretty good guess. Sasai is currently, this is his professional thing that he does right now, currently a bass guitarist for the Queen tribute band Queen Mania.
Oh, wow.
and the rock band Spiders from Cabaret. So he's just in 2 rock bands, one of which is a Queen tribute band. The man, he was a professional composer for 7 years, and now he's in a cover band. When I read that, I was like, what the fuck? What happened to this guy? What is his internal life like? What kind of hell is he going through? At least that's what I always would assume. Maybe he's having a much better time doing that stuff, of course.
He might be, yeah, you never know.
Yeah, he might be, and certainly like his musical style is very... Honestly, it sounds like Scorpions put to MIDI music. That's what it sounds like to me on this game. But I just thought that was interesting that this guy just like he's a big composer at Square. A lot of people love the music for the few games that he did create or that he did work on. Worked on some film stuff, worked on some television, and now he's in a Queen cover band.
That's quite the journey there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I wonder what the ins and outs of that guy's life. I wonder what that is. I'm certainly not bashing him for being in a tribute band, but usually he goes the other direction.
Yeah, usually tribute band is like your day one, like, oh, I really like Queen, let's do a tribute band, and then it's like, oh, I should make my own music. Yeah, that's usually how it progresses, but maybe he just got too big for his britches, and he decided that he wanted a more humbling life as a Queen cover band bassist.
Or maybe he's a big fan of, like, the party life.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe he didn't want to be cooped up in these little, these game companies.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Getting crunch timed by Square Enix. He's not about that.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. It's an interesting musician's journey there. Yeah, very interesting. But yeah, that's what I got on development. There's actually quite a bit out there. Ted Woolsey was talking about, he translated the 2D Final Fantasy games, and he talked about how this was his easiest translation job.
Yeah, there's barely any dialogue, so I mean, I can see that.
There you go. It's mostly like, work we can't get here.
Less work equals easy. Ted Woolsey. Yeah. You could just put like a fucking plaque that says that.
I never did reach out to that guy.
I've talked to him a couple times.
Oh, I'm trying to remember, because I think did we talk to him a little bit back in the early days?
I think so.
Show? I remember thinking that he would be a good guest to have on, but then I don't think we ever actually asked him.
No, we didn't. I tried to talk to a couple other guys, but I haven't got anything back yet.
Okay. All right. Well, let's not worry about that.
It's a fan fiction. It's spurned us deep.
Well, Schweiss, you want to get into the story of Mystic Quest?
Yeah, let's talk story.
All right. So the story. This game takes place in a continent unnamed, with 4 regions: Foresta, Aquaria, Fireburg, and Windia.
Yeah.
And each one of these regions has like a tiny little town, a couple dungeons, and it each has like a visual theme. They're all strongly, of course, affected by, you guessed it, a crystal for each one of those regions. Anyway, your character's name is apparently supposed to be Benjamin, which I don't even think you could put that many letters in your fucking name, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I barely fit Husk in there, and that's a lot shorter than Benjamin.
I put Joe, so, whatever you named him. He's hiking one day, and a random old dude tells him, about a prophecy that he's apparently, he wants you to be the Knight of Prophecy. And it really is. It's like a 5-second long, a little part.
Yeah.
And then Benjamin, then you got to accept the role to become the Knight of Prophecy. And then, of course, because now that you're the Knight of Prophecy, you got to save the crystals that have all been they've all been attacked by a group of monsters called the Vile Four. So the first crystal that you got to save is the Earth Crystal. Now, I was initially going to do a very long explanation about this story, but I'll tell you why I gave up in a little bit. So, let's talk about the Crystal of Earth. Ben goes to Foresta, and then he meets Kaylee. Kaylee says...
Yeah, Kaylee, and guys, Kaylee with the most bullshit, millennial spelling of all time. It's like Kaili or something ridiculous.
It's Kaeli.
Oh, yeah. Fucking God. They called it. That's why they're like, stupid Americans. Here's your Kaylee. Here's your bullshit spelling Kaylee. That they call it.
See, I don't know how Kaylee is supposed to be spelled, but to be fair, Schweiss, you are a Caleb with a K.
That's true. Yeah, well, sea Calebs. You know what they say about the sea Calebs?
No, I don't.
Well, the C stands for something else.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway.
No, one letter is fine. If it was Kaylee or something, it's whatever, but Kaeli? No.
It's tough with the Kayleys. My first girlfriend's name was Kylie. I could not tell you how she spelled that fucking name. I have no idea. It's Kylie, that kind of area.
It's just a free for all.
There isn't. Is there an official spelling for that name?
Yeah, for bullshit names. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I don't know that might. I don't know. I don't know my name history. With
I know there might not be, but it's definitely not what we saw. So Japan was right about that. They were right about the bullshit names. Good job.
There you go. To be fair, Kylie in Japanese would be like Kaili. Kylie.
Yeah, it's all right. Maybe it is just Japanese, and they just Woolsey just decided not to.
I think it was Woolsey. I bet it was fucking Woolsey. He's like, oh, this is my daughter. This is how we spell her name.
Yeah. God damn it, Ted.
Kylie. Anyway, there's just he gets the help of Kylie, but only if he helps her clear the level forest of monsters, or Lavelle. I don't know. Lavelle Forest of Monsters. So they go to clear the Lavelle Forest of Monsters. Suddenly she's wounded, so Ben has to go find an elixir, and the person they have that has the elixir is a treasure hunter named Tristram. And then Tristram agrees to help him if he helps him get some treasure. So they have to go. They have to go to this. Where the hell did they go? It's is it the Bone Dungeon? I think it is. Yeah. They got to go to the Bone Dungeon to get the treasure, and then they got to kill one of the evil four or whatever, the Vile Four, and that's Flamorous Rex. And when they do that, they actually do restore the Earth Crystal. And then they have to go back and heal Kylie. Now, notice that every time our hero takes a step forward in one direction, something happens, and he has to go on a quest. So he has to go on a separate quest through another dungeon, maybe meet another character, come back, get that thing resolved, then move forward to the next thing. And I noticed it when I was playing the game, and I noticed it when I was writing up a fucking story outline of this thing. I was like, I'm not going through every 90 steps of this game. Because honestly, this game, I guess you can say it has a huge story, but actually it just has a lot of steps. And when I was talking earlier about there being this is just a game of Dungeons and Dragons, and they just wrote down all the shit. That's what it feels like. It feels like, oh, you got to get this thing. Oops, this happens. Now you got to go over here and get this thing. You got to come back. Oops, this happens. You got to go over here. You got to come back.
Yeah,
the whole game is like that. And it doesn't disguise it at all. Like the other Final Fantasy games, because they're more character. They have a lot more character-based stuff in there, and more drama is kind of happening. That kind of fetch questing nature is usually hidden a lot better. It doesn't hide it very well in like FF14. I remember that being like a thing, but now I'm starting to see the fucking pattern, and I don't think I can unsee this pattern. Because Mystic Quest was so like it only gave you the pattern. So you go to fetch one thing, something happens. You go to fetch something else to stop that something that you can get, so that you can get to the first thing you were fetching. So it's just like a fetch quest game. Fetch quest upon fetch quest
I'm
upon fetch
interrupting
quest.
your fetch quest with another fetch quest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, you cycle through a bunch of characters. There's Kylie, there's Tristram, there's Phoebe, and there's Ruben. Each one has a certain skill. You got to use these skills both in the battles system and as well as in game to solve little puzzles within these dungeons. Like you use like a grappling hook kind of thing to like pull yourself up on walls and shit like that. Anyway, you gotta use all these things and all these different characters' abilities to solve all these dungeons, to move forward, to save the crystals. And anyway, once you've defeated the Vile Four, you end up finding out that there's one behind the four called the Dark King.
Yeah, the master of puppets pulling your strings.
Yeah, the master of puppets. That's right. So there's always like the final boss twist.
Of course, yeah.
Anyway,
this is that time,
King,
though. This is that period of Final Fantasy where that was the thing.
Yeah. All the way up to FF9, that was the whole period of Final Fantasy. That was
even
thing.
with Sephiroth, it's like, you can kind of make the argument that Genova was sort of the one.
Well, yeah, and Yu Yevon is the bad guy in 10. But...
Yeah, even 10. Yeah, god damn it, man.
Anyway, the Dark King, he tells you right before you fight him, he made up the prophecy.
Yeah, he said, I'm pulling your strings, twisting your mind and smashing your dreams. Blinded by me, you can't see a thing. You know how awesome that would be if that was this... If Woolsey put that in there, like when he revealed everything to you, like, oh my god!
Hey, it kind of goes with the soundtrack.
It kind of does.
Lyric would have been. He should have said, "I'll rock you like a hurricane."
Yeah.
Do. All right, and then you defeat the Dark King, the old guy that you saw at the beginning. I think he tells you that you're the fifth crystal, like you're the seventh Horcrux or something. Like, okay. I don't know what that means at this point. Do I have to defeat the crystal within me? Am I going to live forever? Do I have to live forever, or else the whole world is going to be destroyed because I'm the fifth crystal? I have no idea what the fuck that means. And then you go on your merry way to more adventures. You borrow someone's ship and you sail off. So that's the story of the game. I skipped a lot of the fetch questing in between because, and I told you the pattern. I mean, that's the game. It's just like there's an earth version of that, there's a water version of that, there's a fire version of that, and there's an air version of that. And then eventually you have to go to focus, you got to go to max ship and then up to Doom Castle to defeat the final guy. But yeah, that's the story of the game. Schweiss, what do you think of the story?
It was kind of a bare bones one. Honestly, it's not terrible. It's just the game knows what it is, and the game wants to be adventurous, and it wants you to go out and explore these dungeons and clear these battlefields and, experience the fighting, and it wants you to... It knows that it's kind of fetch questy, and because of that, it doesn't really give you a whole lot of story. I mean, like you said, the guy just approaches you and tells you, like, oh, you're going to be the hero, and you need to go do this stuff. And then your guy goes and does it. I think overall the story is fine. It kind of fits with that era of FF, with the whole four baddies and then the big bad behind it all, with the fucking the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain kind of a thing that Final Fantasy is very known for, especially in those early days. And I don't know, it feels right. I mean, story is kind of just whatever. There were some fun characters, some cool character moments. You do a lot of character swapping for random reasons throughout the game, and there are even a few times where you're by yourself, which is not necessarily great because it makes it obviously harder. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of all right with it. I mean, I don't think it's anything to really rant and rave about, but it suits the game well enough. And this is kind of, I mean, I guess FF4 was right around the same time, and that has a great story. For the most part. And this game is like maybe a tenth as great story-wise as FF4. But it sticks to its guns, when it looks like someone's, in dire straits, they are, and they are removed from your party, and you can get them eventually. And then, of course, at the end of the game, we have the Final Fantasy World Tour. Can't go without the World Tour, right? And
no, you cannot.
Go and visit everybody. Everyone's cool. Everything's awesome, and then you go on the boat and you take off. So you basically just become an adventurer, which is what you've wanted to do the whole time. You just want to explore. You're out hiking, like you're some naturalist dude, and you just get pulled off into some bullshit prophecy thing for a while, for like 23 hours of your life, and then you're like, all right, well, I'm famous enough now that I have a boat, so I can really start exploring, and then he just takes off.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I'll be honest, like the fetch questing nature of it makes it super unmemorable.
Yeah.
I do have a similar problem with FF14. That's just like a newer game that kind of has the same issue. It's just, this happens. Oh, wait, you got to go do this in order for this to like be unlocked or whatever. And it's just way to pad out the gameplay time and to like have an excuse to have a dungeon, which usually the Final Fantasies are less lazy about that.
Yeah,
kind of, approach.
I mean, like, I feel like a lot of the games have struck that sort of perfect balance, And I'm going to use a Western RPG as an example here with Skyrim. I could go in and I could just play Skyrim from beginning to end, and it would probably take me like 12 hours. But the fun thing with Skyrim is you find these optional quests and you want to do those. You don't have to do them, but you want to, and you're driven to do those. And that's where side quests kind of shine in this series. And this one, it almost felt like it was all side quests, you know what I mean? And like you couldn't just go to the end goal. You couldn't just go explore, and it did feel like it was making an excuse for you to do these things rather than just making you want to.
You literally can't explore because the game doesn't let you.
Yeah, you can find hidden items in each area, but the world map is just a grid system, and you can kind of move from one area to the next, and then you go within those areas. So it is pretty limiting.
Yeah, it doesn't really have a world map. I would say its world map is akin to Super Mario World. It's just like one road to the next road to the place you can go into, and you got to beat the one place in order for the road to open up to the other place. And then you got to go into the fucking focus tower and be like, which door? And then you go to the next map, be it the earth, water, fire, air areas. The list of dungeons here, I have Lavelle Forest, which is not really a dungeon. It's just like a little forest. It kind of looks like a fucking Link to the Past or something.
Yeah. I was getting those vibes.
Lavelle Forest. There's Bone Dungeon, which is kind of like a grayish. It's like is it the Earth Dungeon? You think it's like it's got a bunch of rocks and shit.
Yeah.
For water, there's the Wintry Cave, Falls Basin, Ice Pyramid. The fire area has a mine. It has the volcano. It has the lava dome, which I know you had. Did you have problems in the fire area?
It was more just figuring out where to go, but
yeah,
I was lied to, so not really.
Oh,
I finished the objective, and I didn't realize that that's all I needed to do. because I could see parts of the map below me that seemed like I had to get to, and I just couldn't. And then eventually I looked it up, and I was like, oh, I already did what I needed to do here, and I just left and went back to Fireburg.
That's funny.
So, yes and no.
The area has a live forest, which is just like on the way to the giant tree. The giant tree, of course, has a problem, so you gotta go help the giant tree with his problem in order to have him open up.
Yeah.
So there's the giant tree. Then there's Mount Gale, which is the area of the game that I had the most frustration in trying to like navigate, but I was able to do it pretty okay. And then Pazuzu's Tower, which I believe is the tower with the like Sphinx things that you like stab in the face and then they open up.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stabbing in the face of the map and then the map opening up for you.
I remember Mac's ship is the second to last area, and that's like the big pirate ship. And, actually, I had some frustration on that one because I kept on like falling down the floors, and I was just like looking for the next area that was like really fucking painful as fuck.
Yeah, I had to look it up because like I was like, I have explored every inch of this goddamn map. Like, where do I go? And then the guy's like,
you always think you do.
Push the barrel out of the way, and I'm like. So I push the barrel and then I climb the mast. I'm like, this doesn't look like something I should be climbing. Like, this looks huge.
There's a jump button, and I remember on one of these things, I'm not sure which one it was. Might have been Pazuzu's Tower. But there was like I just had to like jump over a treasure chest, and there was another hallway.
Yeah,
and then the whole rest of it opened up. And I was just like, what the...
Yeah, there's like a disconnect there with your brain, like... It's
you
like
did
you're
it
in the
once
middle of
before
plugging
in this game,
something into the wall, and then you just like your memory of how to do it is just wiped from you, and you're like, you just start stabbing it to try to poke the prongs in between the two things, and you're just like, you got it vertical instead of horizontal, and then it clicks, and you're like, that was really easy.
Yeah.
Everybody's
dumb as shit.
Everybody's had that experience, right?
You're
stupid
right,
to
guys,
plug
right?
something in. Yeah, and it's like, and when you see it, you're just like, why did I not jump over that? Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, it's just so obvious. Yeah, I had that too in that same area. I was just like, I think one of them was on the boat, and I was like, oh my god, are you kidding me? Just jump over. I was like, how do I get to the other side?
The boat had one, but I remember the one that I had trouble on was before the boat, so when I got to the boat, I understood that I had to jump over the thing, but it's still like... I still got lost in that boat in other spots, so... Yeah. That wasn't all of it for me. But yeah, that's the story of the game. Those are the areas of the game. There are no extra areas. It's just, I guess, there's treasure within the areas that you go into. In between the areas of the game, there's like these little... battle zones, they call them, or whatever, and you can just like fight random creatures and just level up and all that other shit. But that's a good spot to I guess we're kind of both in agreement on the story. It's like, it's not much. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, the characters are fine.
Characters are fine.
Tristan
was kind of cool.
Yeah, they usually have some awesome weaponry.
Oh, yeah.
But once you catch up to their level, you start doing more damage, so, you know.
Yeah. So, speaking of levels, let's get to gameplay.
Let's do it.
All right, so, Schweiss. We already talked about area exploration a little bit. There's obviously these kind of puzzles. They're usually pretty simple. It's like usually one or two things in a couple floors. And the area puzzle is over. These dungeons are not super huge, except for Gale Mountain.
Yeah.
Or Mount Gale. And they're all kind of like themed by, whatever the theme is, like volcano area or
area. if it's Fireburg, everything around it is going to be dealing with heat. And Windia, the most on the nose of the town names. Everything around it is wind-based. Mount Gale, Windia. It's like, this is going to be the wind crystal. Like, you know exactly what you're getting into.
And then then there's the battle system. And the battle system it's head-on, so it's kind of like Dragon Quest, right? It's not to the side like Final Fantasy usually is,
right,
with these older ones. And your character's at the bottom, and you have pretty much, it's a pretty simple old school RPG battle system. Thing is, you only have 2 characters ever at max. You just have your character, and then you have a guest character who comes in and basically tells you what level you need to be at right now.
Yeah, that's their purpose.
And then, you have regular attacks, and then you have magic, which you gather these tomes throughout the game. And then the magic, you have a certain amount of magic you can use, and you can replenish the magic with seeds. God, this actually took me a long time to figure out. You can replenish the magic with seeds, and you can replenish your health with potions or healing. And then there's regular, like in battle, there's status effects, and there are elements that do come into play. Of course, there are the 4 elements in the game, so therefore there are going to be elements that certain enemies are weak to. And
right.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple battle system. And once you kind of get a hold of it, it's just really easy to do. Because it's not only is it so simple, but also the difficulty is so low in the game. And oftentimes you can just use the RNG to kind of like save your ass. So let's say you're fighting on the battle zones, which is like 10 battles you can clear in a row, and then the battle zone gets cleared. And you can just do that to level up if you want to. You can just restart at the end of the battle if you die. Just like in FF13, the difference is that the RNG is just going to be the thing that saves you. And like, okay, this time they're not going to turn me into stone because the RNG said that this time they used a different move instead of stone. So you can just like literally just like sit there with your hand on the action button, and you can just like, you can keep cycling through the battles if you want to. And so the game it's pretty easy in that way. The big bosses do have a lot of HP, and I'll admit that the last 2 bosses I did do a lot of restarts on. But eventually I did kill them eventually, so it wasn't like a big problem or anything like that. And then it's just a really, really like, I can't really describe it in any other way other than it's just super simple, and there's a restart try, and the game's RNG is very forgiving. It's
really lazy in a lot of ways too.
Yeah,
so we have these spells that we get, and similar to Final Fantasy 1,
Ted Woolsey done fucked up, by the way.
It's very similar to Final Fantasy 1, where you've got your white magic, and you get X amount of uses for the white magic spells. And those I'm like, okay, that's fine. That makes sense, right?
But it'll say like 37 uses.
Yeah, exactly. So like you have enough mana for 37 white magic spells, as opposed to having an overall mana pool. These are specifically for your white mana, right? And there's you can use Cure, which will max out your health if you just attack it or attach it to one person. If you do it to your team, it'll give you quite a bit. But also, if you use the spell Life on someone that's still alive, that'll also max out their health. So it'll either bring someone back from the dead, or if they're alive, it'll just give them full heal. So there's like 2 spells that essentially do the exact same thing, and they come from the same mana pool. So it's like, why have Cure if you could just use Life? Like they both cost 1. You might as well just always use Life, just in case the guy you're trying to cure dies.
Yeah. Certain weapons you can cycle through that do better damage than to other enemies.
Yeah.
Basically, you cycle through weapons because they're also used as tools on the map. But you cycle through them in the same way on the map as you do in battle. So that's like that's an added kind of like element to the game.
There's a lot of puzzle play when it comes to the weapons too. There's a lot of like cutting down trees, hacking down mushrooms, but you don't really cut the mushrooms. You just kind of like knock them into the ground. Is what it looks like to me, because they're still down there. It's almost like an Unreal Tournament, or no, Unreal Gold, when I would play the multiplayer, and like when I would shoot somebody's head off, I eventually noticed that if I zoomed in on their head, like the head was still there, it was just really, really tiny. It was like 2 pixels of head, but it was the head. They just minimized it, and they had the viscera and gore just fly out extra.
That's funny.
So I guess that was easier, but it kind of reminded me of that. And I mean, that brings a lot of cool things with the game. I mean, you have the hatchet, your axe that you can cut down trees and kind of find new areas. You've got a little claw hand that allows you to slide down or grip onto certain walls and objects. And you also upgrade that into a grappling hook hand that allows you to like lob your hook at stone, what is it, stalagmites? On the ground, and you can grab onto those and pull yourself to those to access new zones. You've got your sword, which you basically just stab shit, and it opens up doors occasionally, which inside the tree...
statues, and they open up.
Inside the tree, by the way, that took me forever to figure out that's what I was supposed to do. Really dumb. But so it adds a new element to exploring and to kind of finding extra stuff, because you're like, oh, I think I can get over there, and you kind of utilize your toolkit, and you find a way to get over, and you get the extra items and stuff like that. So I kind of like that. That reminded me a lot of Legend of Zelda or the Final Fantasy Adventure that we played, the first Legend of Mana game. Depending on which of the 70 versions of that game you played. By the way, that and Mystic Quest, that like because of the way they were all named, like there's just like for a while I wasn't sure if Mystic Quest was like its own game because of just how jacked up the naming is in each of the regions and stuff like that. Like,
because the Mystic Quest is a name that they called Final Fantasy Adventure over in Europe.
Exactly.
And they chose to name this game Mystic Quest when they were making this for a North American audience, and then they fucked up their title in Europe because of that shit.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that kind of went about. One thing real quick, talking about titles of things. This is the gameplay aspect that I found most painful. And actually like added, I guess, some level of difficulty, although I knew I could just like leave the area unscathed because, you have preset, instead of having random battles, you have preset like enemies on the dungeons, and they only reset after you leave the area and come back. And you can go through the world map without hitting any of the areas. You can just go straight to town, so it's really forgiving. If you're like stuck on something, you can just leave, resupply, level up, and then go back into the dungeon if you need to. So it's super forgiving that way. There's no places where you can just like be stuck forever,
right?
Which is really nice. Because in other Final Fantasy games, they'll have like the random shit. They'll have random battles. So if you like got fucked over and you saved in a bad spot, sometimes it's really tough to get to a good spot. But anyway, bad translation, right? So there are the things that really confuse me is because we're used to certain names meaning certain things, doing certain things in this series specifically. Potions heal you, right? And then you have like ethers, right? They increase your mana. There are no ethers in this game. Instead, there are seeds, which I had no idea what the fuck they did till I was like stuck somewhere and like, why can't I use my magic right now? And like, how do I replenish my magic? And so I had to like look that shit up, and I told you straight up before you started playing the game, it was like seeds, get seeds.
Yeah, he was the Fushururu guy in FF8. He's like Fushururu
seeds. Get seeds, or else you're gonna go through the same shit I went through, which was like going up to, I might have been Earth Crystal or Water. I was probably Water Crystal. Water Crystal guy, just restarting it over and over again because I don't have any fucking magic. And I'm just like, what the, like I could use some magic at the beginning of the fight and then it would run out. I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck is happening right now.
Yeah. The bad thing is when you told me about the seeds, they weren't available yet. None of the people had it in town, and I was like, that'd be nice. That'd be real nice.
That's at some point where they give you a lot more potions at that point in the game. There are, the seeds, I guess, give you the magic. And so stock up on those. But also the magic title names are different too. So Cure is pretty normal. That gives you health. And Life brings you back to life. Life is a spell you get about midway through the game. Now, I never got the Cure tome, apparently. If there was one in the game, I never got it.
Oh, really?
I got a heal tome, though.
Oh.
And the amount of frustration, deep frustration, Schweiss, I was mad at this game. In, like, taking heal, and, like, why am I able to use heal in the menu system and put it on my guy, and his health never goes up? It drove me absolutely fucking nuts. And then I would see, like, I would have the, your secondary character, I put him on auto mode sometimes.
Yeah.
And, like, he would be on auto mode, and he would cure. And I'd be like, what the fuck? He can cure, but every time I press heal, nothing happens? And then there was a realization later on when the status effects became part of the game. Right around the time that I found out about seeds.
Yeah.
I realized heal was fucking Asuna.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That reminds me of when I was trying to...
That fucking drove me fucking nuts. Heal is Asuna. Heal doesn't heal you. I guess it does in a different way, but heal gets rid of status effects, and cure increases HP.
Yeah. This reminds me of when I played Dragon Age Origins, just regular Dragon Age, the first one. There was like a first aid kit, and then there were items like potions, and I kept using first aid kits, and I was like, dude, these aren't working like for shit. Like my guy is still super jacked up. And then later I was playing the game like 6 or 7 hours in, and the guy I made my tank character, his name's Alistair. He was so weak. We would get into a fight and he would just drop. Like, he would just drop to the ground, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And then Christian's like, I don't know. My buddy Christian's just like, does he have any status effects on him? And then I look at it and I'm like, oh. Because he was like, he had one eye that was put out. He had like a cracked skull, like 4 broken ribs, a dislocated collarbone, and like all of this shit. And then I look and I'm like, oh, the first aid kit takes care of that. And so I used the first aid kit on him like 12 times, and now he's no longer blind and a shattered man. And I was like, well, that would have been nice if the game explained that to me. That's exactly what happened with the heal thing. I was like, what is heal? You know, like, what am I healing from? And then
what am I healing?
And then I saw it, because I had it on auto for a little while too, with the side guy. And I think it defaults to that. And I saw him heal me from poison. And I was like, oh, okay. That's the sin.
Oh, you fuck.
Yeah, because he used it on me. So that was nice to figure out. It's like, but it's weird because Life, like, why can't they both just get rid of everything? Because Life cures, so like, why can't heal cure as well? Why can't it just be one spell? It should just be one white magic spell. It should be awesome. It should just be called AWSM. And you just use it, and it's just max everything. Like, everything is just fine again. If you're dead, you're back alive. If you're poisoned, you're not poisoned anymore.
Oh, man.
Just awesome.
Yeah, the heal thing it's exactly like your first aid story. It's just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Why is this mechanic not working? Like, that's what I thought was going on in the game. Like, I keep using the spell. What do I have to walk around and I like heal up? I have no idea what the fuck is happening.
Yeah. Is it like a regen deal? Like what?
Is it regen? Yeah, exactly. But no, it's Ted Woolsey. Ted, come on, man. You did FF4. Like, you know what the spells' names are. keep them consistent for the players, bro. Of course, he was probably just like, they probably changed it in Japan, and then that changes over here, so whatever the fuck. So anyway, after, like, the actual mechanics of the game were made known to me midway through the game, it's not that it was hard before, because the RNG would just save you anyway, but then it became, like, super easy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of when I figured all that out. The menu system is shit, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It's easy. Like, it's not that we didn't just get owned by random dudes left and right. Let's be fair here. Game. But it's easy because you can retry. Now there were so many times where I would go into the fucking the battlefield that was just full of nagas, the like snake dudes, and I would go in and it would just be stone, dead. It's like, do you want to retry? And I'm like, yeah, I want to fucking retry. What are you kidding me? Like,
honestly, that's what the RNG is for, is like getting to the stone guys and just like not getting hit with stone.
Yeah, and it's like there's a 75% chance that I'm not going to get a turn here, but that 25% is what you keep retrying for, and when you get it, you mop the floor with those fuckers, right?
It's true.
If they get first strike on your ass, which will happen over and over again, and I'm like, I'm entering the battlefield. How am I getting jumped here? Like, and then it's just like stone, retry? Yes. First strike for the enemy. Stone, retry? I'm like, yes. First strike for the enemy. I'm like, come on, man. Just give me a break here. Just fucking throw me a line. You're easy. Why you gotta try to pretend you're something else here, game? Come on. But
so we're doing this on our 5th anniversary. I would like to say the first rant ever on the show is about stone and cockatrices casting stone on you.
Yeah, there you go.
In the first FF game. This is like, it's repeating the past. It's just, FF games, they get real serious when you're stoned.
Yeah, that's when it gets crazy.
That's when it gets crazy. I can't think of any other major gameplay elements besides the menu system sucking fucking ass. Like figuring out like how to switching weapons, doing auto mode, that was easy, but like figuring out how to get, like, I didn't know there were multiple spell screens. I didn't start using black magic spells until like the very end of the game, basically. Even though I'd collected these tomes, and I was like, how do I even fucking use these right now? And it's like, oh, you just have to scroll. Like, I didn't even like... That wasn't, like, part of my thing. Like, in other FF games, like, part of the menu.
Are you serious?
This is white magic, black magic. This one just had magic. And then it had, like, my 4 cure spells on the top of the list. And I didn't realize that I would just cycle. So...
God,
there were just things... I don't know, man. I'm used to FF being a certain way, and admittedly, like, this is an early spin-off. This is, like, the second spin-off, right?
Yeah, it's an early one.
Yeah, so I guess they just took some liberties with like the naming of things, and so whatever kind of I'm using this wrong archetype that I'm used to with the Final Fantasy games, it's all kind of like it's back to experimental ground, and things are called different things, and so now I'm just not used to it. And at the same time, this game is, like, really easy, so you kind of turned your brain off and you just go. And so, like, any, like, little thing that you could explore, you just don't. Until, like, you need to. So, I don't know. That's kind of how it is. That's kind of, like, why I didn't find out about things until way later on. I was like, oh, well, this would have just been easier had I fucked around a little bit, but I didn't fuck around. I don't fuck around.
Yeah.
Just go for it, but... It was still a super easy game. The RNG restart thing, I use like crazy. Now I gotta look up my final time because I can't remember what it was. But do you remember what yours is?
Yeah, it was like 23:10 or something like that. So it's basically right on par with those earliest Final Fantasies 1 and 2.
Well, it was. I remember for both of us, it was a lot longer than what How Long to Beat had.
Oh, yeah.
As its time. Yeah. So I was like, I felt like kind of cheated. But, you know, it was fine. Like, the game's so easy that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It was like
I never died to the last boss, dude. I never lost.
I died to the air guy, and when I got stuck and had no magic and didn't know about seeds. I think that was on the water, the fire guy. I died a lot. Honestly, the last boss I did have to restart like twice. Actually, I'm glad you didn't have to, but I think there was something happened. I can't remember what it was. He also has a lot of HP.
Oh yeah, it's a ton.
I think it's like second form does like a pretty big attack on both of your guys. So you just have to like immediately switch over to heal. And if you're kind of just going through the motions thinking it's going to be an easy boss and you're not really paying attention, then yeah you're going to restart a couple times. That's mostly when I would restart.
Yeah. Did you find Flare in the game? Did you find that magic?
I did find Flare.
Yeah, Flare against that guy was amazing. So I would just cast Flare with my dude, with Benjamin, and then I would have the girl that was with me. I would have her just do cure on both of us, and that way, if we got hit by the big thing, we would get most of our health back, and there was almost no way he could finish me off. And every once in a while, I just have to skip an attack phase and just use a seed on me or my healer, and then just get right back into it.
Yeah, I kept on using, I think it was Flare or Holy.
Yeah, one of those
might
two.
not have been Flare. I kept on using that with one character, healing with the other, and then having to use Seed, and then healing both of them. So I got hit pretty hard, so maybe my armor wasn't as good as yours or something, but... So yeah, I had to do it a couple times, but it wasn't like super frustrating. He has a lot of stages, by the way. Oh, all the bosses have stages in this game.
Yeah.
This is kind of part of design, but each of the bosses like visually like goes from like looking like the cool boss to like looking like really pissed off to looking like almost dead.
Yeah, I love how the hedgehog enemies, they just like have male pattern baldness whenever they get a little bit weaker, you know. It's like, "Oh, I'm half health." And then they just like have no hair in the middle.
Immediately.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. My final save, by the way, was 21 hours and 14 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So, a little bit shorter than yours, but, you know, we're not counting. Who's counting? I mean, really, except for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the gameplay it's all right. If it played like this and was like a super difficult game, I'd be pretty fucking mad. But it plays like this, kind of clunky, kind of weird.
Yeah. And another cool thing.
It's a really easy game.
Yeah.
So I'd forgive it.
Yeah. Another one of the cool things that it has is each weapon is like strong against certain types of enemies. And so once you figure that out, each weapon and certain elements, like going into battlefield areas, it's like, oh, you guys are fucked. You know, like I go in and I've got Flare just ready and I just flare them and it swipes the floor with the entire group, and then I go back into the battlefield. So like grinding is, I don't know if it's super necessary in this game, honestly, because I think by the end I was like level 36 or 37 and I was not having any problems. And when I did, it was just getting status effect raped, which is just purely RNG, because it's like sometimes it'll kill you and sometimes it'll miss both of you. So like, you feeling lucky?
If you just kind of fight all the enemies that are in your way, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Like, don't leave the area. Also, please God, it's just like in that Crystal Chronicles that I lost my fucking mind in. If you leave the area, they're all back. And it's not that they're hard; it's just that they take forever. God.
Although once you figure out where to go in this thing, you only have to fight like 3 of them.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of them are optional.
It's not that bad. I had to go back to town to get the seed thing, and like I was dreading redoing that dungeon. Then I like went through it. I was like, oh, that took like a second.
Yeah, it's worse though when you don't know exactly where the end of the dungeon is, because then it's like you use the living creatures as like your. It's almost like a pebble that you drop to make sure you're going back in the right path. It's like the opposite of that. It's like if I see no one alive, I've already been here. But if there's someone left, like I haven't explored that section. So if you leave before you get to the end of the dungeon, it's like, fuck, I'm going to have to kill every motherfucker in the room here. You know, and you just get that AK-47 out and you do it. So,
yeah, there you go. So what'd you think of the gameplay then, overall?
Pretty simplistic. In some ways, it's lazy. In a lot of ways, it's pretty fun. You know, I liked the puzzle aspect of the maps and the dungeons, and finding new areas by exploring these things. I kind of liked it. I thought it was a fun game to play. It's a real fast thing. It's really easy, like we've said, and it's not that you're not going to get your ass handed to you at least 20 or 30 times, but it's like, it's because you come in, you know, you kick that door open and everyone's like got their guns aimed at you already, and then you get blown away. That's why you lose. It's not because you couldn't have won. It's just that it's just that you couldn't have won, you know, and then you get to retry it, just like in FF13. But unlike 13, you can just get past it because you get lucky. In 13, it's like, if you're not ready, you're not going to fucking win. Unless you can stagger my ass fast enough to take it out, it's not going to happen. This one's way more forgiving in that regard. It's a really easy game. Some of the puzzles are like weird to figure out, but it's just mostly me underestimating the game and underestimating the mechanics that it holds. You know, it's figuring out, oh, I can actually climb up that, or oh, this item can be pushed out of the way. You know, things that like you don't expect from a game of this age and also of this style. You know, RPGs, it's like the ultimate mix between an RPG and an action game, like an action adventure game here. And I know the first Mana game was kind of similar in a lot of ways to this one, but I think this one kind of like blurs that line even better. And it's enjoyable. It was an enjoyable 23 hours. As far as playing the game goes, you know, the story is nothing to write home about. Having to go through that fucking tower like 30 times was kind of annoying, but it was always cool.
Focus tower.
Yeah. It was kind of cool to go back and like find out, you know, figure out which area is now open to you, and then access the different parts of the map. The final dungeon I thought was really cool because you kind of go through and fight like the bosses again, you know. So it's like I think we fought them all again, didn't we? Isn't that what it was? Like
I don't remember if that was the case. Whatever was in there wasn't actually that difficult, and you just go straight up. So
yeah, you would.
I think there were things that looked like the old bosses. I don't know if they were actually the old bosses, but maybe they were.
Yeah,
maybe they were like fighting the four fiends again, or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
something like that. And you clear the floor, and then you can access the next floor up, and you just kept climbing this tower. Like, I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah, and you had to stop the elevator. That's right.
Fuck that. That took forever, but
I remember that. Yeah. I thought the gameplay, it was all right. It was all right. I wish that it had. I wish that it had stuck to the Final Fantasy branding of all the of all the spells and shit. Because if it didn't, I guess it would be like twice as easy that it was for myself. There's a lot of this Mystic Quest being played in the a lot of my experience of Mystic Quest is colored by the fact that I have been stuck on 4 games in a row, and then I finally get a really fucking easy game, and it just feels like a vacation. And so I feel like Mystic Quest ain't that great of a game, but I had a damn good time playing it because I was not wanting to pull my fucking hair out.
Yeah.
On a Final Fantasy game that I'd been playing like in a row, so
was
good.
Theater Rhythm really that hard for you?
I'm sorry, not Theater Rhythm, but the games before, for sure.
What was before that? It was Dissidia. Oh, all 3 Dissidias and then the Chocobo's Dungeon. Yeah.
All 3 Dissidias, Chocobo's Dungeon, and then I get 3 really easy, nice games. Mystic Quest, I guess Theater Rhythm just kind of blurred by me as like little fun things. Mystic Quest is actually like a game. Like it's got a beginning and an end.
It's not as good as Theater Rhythm, I'll tell you that, which is kind of sad. But
I'll wait till our super ranking episode where we rank every single game that we've played. But I had a decent time in Mystic Quest. Felt like a felt like a really good this is a nice thing to come home after work and to play some Final Fantasy. It's like, it's nice. Right? I'm having a good time. So that's kind of how I felt about the gameplay. It was all right. It's probably not as good as I felt that it was when I was playing it. But it's fine. It's just fine. So Schweiss, design and music.
All right. The look of the game. Yeah. It looks old. I mean, it's super retro-y. Each of the areas were definitely...
It's not retro. It was for its time.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. it looks good for a Super NES game, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's not doing any of the Mode 7 stuff, so it's not blowing my mind, but I like the look of the areas. It's thematically kind of perfect. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just nice. It's pretty stock. It's pretty standard Super NES kind of game. I played it on the Retron 5, and it's like Super Eagle mode, so everything like looked probably twice as good as it actually did in the game. So, with that in mind, it looks pretty good. It's not like dull looking or anything like that. It's pretty colorful. It does look a lot like, I guess, like a mix between Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy, which makes sense because they straight up took sprites from FF Legend. So there you go, the word Legend and Final Fantasy in the English editions of that title. So it looks all right. The thing I want to talk about is the music, though, because the music, this is one of the first Final Fantasy games that didn't have Nobuo Uematsu as the composer. And I don't know, what do you think of the music before I get into it?
I had a lot of fun with the battle theme. To be honest, I thought it was great. It is kind of like a Scorpions sounding song to quote you from earlier. It's a lot of fun. The rest of the soundtrack was it was all right. It wasn't anything blowing me away necessarily, but I did like the battle themes and the boss themes. There were a different theme for the boss battles, so I enjoyed that.
Well, Schweiss, you basically said what I was going to say. I was going to say that the boss theme and the battle theme, fucking awesome. Every time the battle theme started, unfortunately the battles would last like 30 seconds max. But every time the battle theme started, I was like, fuck yeah. Because it goes do 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 do, like it just starts with this very cool, very very late 80s, even though this game's early 90s, but it's got that 80s rock feel to it, and it's like a MIDI soundtrack, so it's just a great, fun battle theme. And it's got like that, and the boss battle song have a lot of like dual harmony kind of things going on. It sounds a lot like electric guitar-esque kind of Scorpions harmonic guitar playing. It's a lot of fun, those two tracks. The rest of the game's tracks are okay. I don't think it has a soundtrack as good as Final Fantasy Adventure, but I thought that the soundtrack was pretty cool. I don't know why this guy is now in a Queen cover band, because he should be composing music. I assume his best work was ahead of him, or is ahead of him now, maybe. But the two like rock themes are sweet. The town themes and everything else, they're all right. Oh, the final dungeon or the final battle theme is also really good.
Yeah, that one was fun.
Yeah, really cool stuff there. So I thought the music was half of it was pretty stock, but the other half was like pretty cool. So I really enjoyed the music. I'm surprised this guy only made like 8 games, like the music to just a few games, and then left.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. Usually these guys are lifers, or
yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I really enjoyed the I really enjoyed the battle theme. Well, that's honestly what I would say. It's just like the fucking battle theme is great. Anyway, that's all I got for music. We went over design, went over gameplay, story, development. I guess we're what are we to? Legacy now?
Yeah, questions, legacy, reviews.
Questions, legacy. Okay, let's go over some questions then.
All right, let's dive in. All right, so first up on our questions for Mystic Quest, we have Black Mage Justin. As someone who hasn't played this game, but has played the shit out of Curtain Call for the last 2 weeks, were all the songs as good as the battle themes in Curtain Call? No. We just barely said that. Sadly, no.
No. The boss theme is pretty fucking sweet, though.
Yeah. He also goes on to ask, do you think there is enough want for this style of kind of FF for them to make a new one for 3DS and Switch?
An easy FF?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it is kind of like an adventure. It's like a Legend of Zelda Final Fantasy mashup in a lot of ways. So I could see them remaking it because they did remake Legend of Mana, right? So I could see them doing that for this as well, or Final Fantasy Adventure, or Adventure of Mana, or whatever the fuck it's called. I could see them putting it on a newer console. 3DS probably for sure, but I don't know if they will. I kind of doubt that, but
I'm considering this as like a Reader's Digest version of a regular Final Fantasy game. So to make a remake of a Reader's Digest Final Fantasy game, I think is a little ridiculous. Instead of you have the Vile Four instead of the Four Fiends. You have the Dark Lord instead of, Chaos. You got the Four Crystals. I mean, the only thing is, like, the battle system is a little different and more stripped down and simpler, and I guess the character names. But it's not like there's a huge story in here that you can really explore any further that they already did in the first 5 Final Fantasy games that also have to do with crystals and shit. So, no, I don't think a remake is even... I don't even think it's in like a possibility.
Yeah, there's almost no need,
No.
It's kind of how where I'm at with it. He also asks, since you guys are just plowing through these games, do you think this is a game you'll remember, or is it just forgettable trash? I don't know if it's trash, but it is largely forgettable in a lot of ways. It doesn't really stand out super well amidst the other Super Nintendo Final Fantasy entries, and it's really easy, and there's not much going on for the story. So forgettable, yes. I don't think it's trash, though. I think it's an all right game, at the very least.
It is very forgettable. It is, because I had to plan this episode after a week of having not played this game, and I had to look at the maps again to just like, oh, okay, it's like to visually jog my memory of what everything was. So, yeah, super forgettable. The only thing I have not forgotten is the battle theme. Like, I literally, like, I can hum it to you right now.
Yeah.
So, and that's not the case with like most of these non-main series Final Fantasy games.
That is
most
true.
Most of the time I forget the music, and this one I have not.
Yeah, so that's a good sign. Thank you for your questions, Black Mage. So, Red Rose, yay, I was waiting for you to get to this game. This was one of the first games I owned on my SNES. Question the Ace. Who was your favorite ally that you partnered with? Mine was Ruben. I loved that morning star he swung around. I kind of liked all of them. I don't know. I don't know if I really had a favorite.
I don't think I think Tristram, because I like the character of Tristram the most.
Yeah,
but
thief
in terms
guy.
of battle power, they were all just kind of like, they were all at a bigger level than you were until you caught up to them. So they were all great.
Yeah. Okay, so I kind of agree. I don't know. I liked all of them, though. I did like Ruben with the Morning Star, and plus I made a lot of like sandwich jokes when he was in the party, so that was fun. But that's kind of me with my own thing. Question the Deuce. Who was your least favorite ally? He would say Tristram. like this selfish treasure hunting attitude, but when he rejoins your party around the bridge, he has not upgraded his power and he feels comparably weak. Yeah, kind of near the end of the game, when they start joining you up, they don't really have much strength to them. So that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, they weren't going off and leveling up. They were living their lives in town and then
exactly.
came back.
Yeah.
So that's fair. That's fair. Least, I guess, Kylie, because the first thing she does is like become useless immediately.
Yeah.
Like now I have to go help her.
Right, yeah.
I have to go find an elixir to save this person who was with me through like I chopped down like 3 trees and then she fucking gets owned. So,
yeah.
there you go.
Okay. Question the tray. Did you find all 12 weapons in the game? The 3 swords, axes, claws, and bombs. What was your favorite weapon to use? I think I did.
I used I think the last sword you get is like Excalibur or something like that, and it seemed to do the most attack damage, so that was the one I used.
Yeah, I kind of figured out which enemies were weak against which things, and I kind of went that route. I used the bombs a bunch in some of the easier battlefields just to soften everybody up and then pick them off one by one.
I didn't use the bombs because I felt like I was going to run out of bombs. Then I didn't realize you could just go to town and buy a bunch of bombs.
Yeah, you can find a bunch too. He also says using the Dragon Claw, like the hook shot from Zelda, felt great. Yeah, the Dragon Claw would sometimes just insta-kill enemies, so that one was always fun, but it would also miss a lot, which was really annoying.
Wow, you guys really played around with the weapons. I just there was one weapon that just worked the best, and it was usually the last weapon I got, so I would just stick with that weapon in the battles. So,
yeah.
Interesting. We had totally different approaches.
We did, yeah.
Note that yours took 2 more hours of gameplay time.
True. Question the Cater. What was your favorite section of the world / crystal to explore? Earth, water, fire, or wind?
Not wind.
Yeah, I like the fire one. I mean, I got stuck up on it, but I kind of always like the fire areas in these games. Maybe I'm like a...
What area in the game had the fucking crate floor that you had to go under? And I couldn't find the entrance to that thing for a few minutes.
Oh, that was the ice one.
Idea. Oh yeah, fuck that one. I can tell you my least favorites.
That was tough.
I don't know if any of them I really loved.
That was a skull fuck when you finally walked underneath and you're like, wow, really?
There is an interesting puzzle where it's you're jumping across the rocks in the river of lava. You see that in another FF game. I'm trying to remember which one it was. But it's kind of fun, having that little bit of a retrospective moment. Oh yeah, this feels like Final Fantasy. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, question the Sync. Did you acquire all 12 spells in the game? The 4 white, black, and a wizard? What was your favorite? He loved the sound effects of arrow and white.
We already talked about my spell choices. Obviously, I never got Cure, which I don't even know how the fuck I missed it, but I did. Holy was pretty strong at the end, so
yeah,
I guess that was my favorite.
I liked Meteor
and Life.
I liked Meteor and Flare, but it's sad because I got Flare right after I got Meteor, so I was like, well, goodbye, Meteor. And it became Flare. I didn't get all the spells. I think I missed 2. There was 1 white and 1 wizard one that I missed. But I liked playing around with the magic in this game. It was really powerful for certain enemies, so that was good. Question the Sice. Did you keep your health display as the bar mode, or did you switch it over to traditional numbers?
I did the bar mode. I saw that I could switch it to the numbers, and I was like, nah. I like the bar.
See, I kind of hated the bar, so I switched it back to the original numbers.
There you go.
Very different play style. Note that mine took 2 hours longer.
Yep.
Question the 7. Are you aware of what my question labels are a reference to? Before you scroll down to the next post, see if you can guess. I'll post it below. Hope you enjoyed Mystic Quest.
I read ahead, unfortunately, for Rude Rose, so I do know.
Yeah. I wish I wouldn't have read ahead, but I did too. It's all the cadets from Type 0. Not that you remember them, other than any... Besides their names. Yeah. And they're ugly crying before they all
ugly, loud crying.
Yeah, before
adults
the end.
Adults should not wail when they cry. Shame them further.
For their emotion.
Silence your cries.
Exactly, yeah. Just cry in silence like everybody else.
Jeez.
Yeah, I wish that game were better than it is. I really do, but it's just not. So, that's where we are. So, Shinru, he asks, do you agree with the statement by many that this is the easiest FF game ever?
No, I'd say Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm.
Yeah, Theater Rhythms are both easier.
Is the easiest.
So, no. There you go. Why do you think Square Enix thought gamers in the West needed an easy mode to explain RPG mechanics to them? Not only did they do this, but they gave an easy mode for 4 on SNES, too. Because
the Japanese are nationalists and prejudiced and racist, so
yeah,
that's why.
Just like us. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's no other way around it. I mean, unless we were just shitty at games back then. But I don't know. I mean, they're just assholes to us, I guess. So people often praise the rock/metal music soundtrack from this, citing it gives them Dio vibes. Do you guys hear it, and do you like it? Yeah, I think
I do hear it Dio vibes. Yeah, sure.
Dio does work, and yeah, I like it quite a bit for what is really good. He also says, would you agree with the statement that the music is probably the highlight of this game? It's like a yes and no.
The battle theme is the highlight of this game.
Yeah, the battle theme is the best thing in this game, but the rest of the music, it's like we said before, there are a couple tracks here and there that are pretty good, and then the rest is just kind of stock, you know. And it's not bad, it's just not amazing. We don't have like a Crisis Core or Dirge of Cerberus on our hands with Mystic Quest. Like, don't get us wrong, the battle theme is amazing, but like the Crisis Core metal, like that's something else, man. This is much lower than that as far as the music goes. Mm-hmm. That I think that, and then just the way you use your toolkit to get around the world, those are kind of the highlights for me.
Oh, the adventuring aspect, sure.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's good. Let's see. This was apparently the first FF game that ever came out in Europe, but the title was changed to Mystic Quest Legends, and Final Fantasy Adventure came out the same year over there and was called Mystic Quest. So imagine all the people being confused when FF7 comes out on PS1, and it's the first game called FF that they have ever seen. LOL, poor Europeans.
Did they really not get any of the other games before this? That's crazy.
Yeah, that seems really shitty. It's like, wow, we're the first 6. Oh, yeah. Everywhere else. Damn it.
Man, the Europeans are just not video game centric, are they?
It's weird because, like, you give us an easy mode, but you don't even give them the games. Like, what the fuck, man?
I mean, if that's true, that's sad.
Yeah.
That's real sad.
Yeah, that's crazy. If you were trying to get a little kid into RPGs, would you have them play this first so they would have an easy time?
I don't know. You got to put it in their hands and have them decide that. I guess I would probably do this one first because it is easy. And if they got stuck, I could just, like, swoop in.
Yeah.
Without any, like, issues.
Yeah, I suppose this would be a good intro to the series. So, hardest boss fight?
I think it was the fire guy. And it was because I didn't realize that I could use seeds to get my mana up.
Okay.
Did you ever die and lose? I died and restarted. And then the one time when I was stuck on that boss, found out I could go get seeds. And I guess I lost.
I mean, yeah, it's a hard thing to decide if you fought or died and lost. Because, like, if you just retry and you win again, I guess that's a no. But I mean, we definitely died.
I would save before every time I saw, like, the bad dude on the top of the screen. That's when I would save. So
yeah.
I mean, I lost, but then I just, like, picked up where I left off and left the dungeon, got stuff, and came back.
Yeah. Did you find the dungeons easy? Yeah, for the most part. There were a few spots that were, like, kind of mindfucky to to get around and access the next section. But for overall, yeah, it's pretty easy.
Agreed.
Thoughts on the final dungeon? This was like the highlight dungeon. I thought it was awesome. It's really big. And the final section where you fight the big baddie, it looks like FF2's ending area. And I thought that was awesome. That was really bringing it back.
We already touched on it, but like the elevator thing, you're stopping the elevator from moving so that you can, get the big baddie stuck, and then you had to go find him on whatever floor he stopped on. Oh, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Final boss thoughts. Super easy. Just got to make sure you cure yourself and maintain your
mana. He's got a lot
mana.
of HP.
Yeah.
I didn't find him as easy as Schweiss did, but
he took a while, that's for sure.
Experience.
Anything that this FF did that you wish they brought over into other FF games?
I do like the enemy. Well, I do like the forgiveness of where you're saving in whatever form that would take in another FF game. But being able to safely exit a dungeon and not get fucked in a save point is a nice thing. I don't think it should be exactly the way it is in this game, because maybe that would be too easy. But being able to go back to an area when you're getting super fucked would be nice.
Yeah.
And you do in some of the older in some of the newer FF games, you have options to go back to town, just by traveling around on a crystal or something like that.
Right. Okay, well, that's it for Shinru's. We got some from A4 Extreme here. Did you guys find that the hit-miss ratio on your party members was too high, meaning they missed their attacks a lot? Yeah, I did, actually. That was one of the things I forgot to bitch about. It was really frustrating at times, because I would try to manage who does the most damage and kind of, have the big hitter hit each person once, and then I would follow up and, clean up house. But when one of those wouldn't work out, then I'm just getting hit by one more enemy than I could have been, So I thought it was a little bit high for me. Was that something you noticed?
I didn't really notice it. I know that there was a lot of misses, but I don't know. In comparison to FF1, the miss thing is it's pretty forgiving. It's not that bad. So the game's so easy that the miss thing is just an added little element to make you think that you're playing a challenging thing. No, it was fine. Hit-miss ratio, I never really, even... That didn't even cross my mind.
All right. Were you guys annoyed by the near constant use of status ailments in the game? Yes.
Oh, the stone.
Status ailments were the thing that kill you in this game.
Or the thing that make you restart until they go away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I won't say kill.
Yeah. What did you think of the auto navigation on the world map? Do you think the feature was even needed?
It's just the thing to make it easy. The hardest thing about Final Fantasy sometimes is just finding out where to go next. So it makes sense that if they're going to make a kid version of the game, they just make it Super Mario World.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was fine. I mean, it was nice to not be lost.
Yeah, it makes it really easy, like you said. And this game knows what it is. It knows it's the easy chump Final Fantasy. So I think it works. I don't know if it's needed, but it was nice, Did you guys clear out the monster fight spaces on the world map and or fight every enemy in the dungeons, or did you just joke-core it?
Hey now, I cleared out every single monster space on the world map.
Yeah, same.
So fuck you. Go fuck yourself. That's how you joke-core this game.
Yeah.
Remember, I also did everything in FF5. I did almost everything in FF12. Come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
I also beat FF11, which almost none of you guys have.
True.
Let's Joe Core that shit.
Yeah, why don't you go Joe Core yourself?
Why don't you go just Joe Core yourself?
Yeah. So we have some here from Alex Bakai on our Facebook. Actually, he messaged us a couple days ago. His first question is: if the game ever made a sequel, would you want it to continue at the end of the first game, where the hero leaves on the ships and heads to new land? Or redo the same story X number of years in the future with the same lands and expand/update on what the original had with new locations?
And you could just call it FF5.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Get yourself a Boko and name yourself Butts. And there you go.
Yeah.
Yar. Exactly. I guess if there was a sequel, I'd rather just like continue on.
Yeah.
If there was.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be one, and I don't think this needs it at all.
I would like more if they did do a sequel, and I'd like them to make it a little bit more challenging, kind of update the map. Just make it more modern. More of a modern FF. Not like 15, but like 8 or 9. Something like that. What was your favorite boss to fight, and who was your least favorite? I think we covered these.
Yeah, we covered
best side character, least. We covered those two. Did you feel that certain weapons were useless after you obtained them? For him, the first two claws weren't very good since they had less attack power than the axe and bombs. Yeah, I think that's why Joe did what he did, which was like stick to the one weapon, you know, that's the newest.
The newest weapon was always the best weapon.
Yeah.
Like that's what I found out, like in general, and sometimes I would get to guys that weren't doing much damage. I just assumed they had higher armor or something like that, but I guess if you switched weapons, they might have had a different effect. But no, I would just usually like, oh, I found Excalibur, and then I would just use Excalibur, and then like, oh, you get a super cool axe, and then I'd use super cool axe.
Yeah, he says the second level sword is only good for 5 monster battles before you obtain the battle axe in Fireburg. It seems the game wanted to use the axe weapon the most until you get the Excalibur sword in the second to last dungeon. So that's basically exactly what you just said.
Yep.
Did you ever use the battlefield trick in the game to obtain 2 levels instead of 1? Ooh.
I read up on that thing, and I didn't understand it. I would have to watch a video, and the game's too easy for me to care about like leveling up twice as fast.
Yeah. Let's see what he says about it, though. If you don't know the battlefield trick, certain battlefields will give you an extra set of experience when you clear them out. If you are below the amount of XP to gain a level, then the XP you will obtain will go up 2 levels in one battlefield. The good side is you will be an extra level higher than you would be, but the downside is the EXP needed to gain the next level is doubled since it required the EXP that you skipped on the double level. This is good early on for defeating monsters in one hit, but the best time to use it is when leveling up from 39 to 41, since that is the max level. Oh wow, that's weird.
41's the max level? Fuck, I might have hit it.
Yeah, his next question is, do you wish there was not a level cap at 41? I mean, it's weird, but I don't know if I didn't reach 41, and if I would have, I wouldn't have been shaking my fist at it and been like, you kids in your 41! You know, that is a bizarro number to stop on, though. Like, maybe they're like, all right, what level did everyone get to? Like, they had the lowest level, and then they had the highest level, and then they just like split the difference when they were testing it, and they just said, all right, 41. That's the max level, 41.
My guess would be, Schweiss, that one of the executive's kids, one of his half-American kids could only count to 41.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And so he just figured that's what it would have to be.
No, that's the largest number they know in America.
Like, it split the atom, but they can only count to 41.
Yeah. Although, I mean...
Or they can pay someone to split the atom. From somewhere else. Because I'm going to get shit on that. Yes, I know a lot of the scientists were from other places. Go ahead.
Didn't we join World War II in 42? Isn't that what it was? It was, wasn't it? I think it was.
December 7th, 1941, we got attacked. I thought did we declare war in 41 or 42?
Maybe it was 42. I always remember that, like, the whole Christopher Columbus, 1492, and then I swap it to 1942, and it's either, like, joining or us something big. I can't remember, though. Maybe 41, though. That's when we joined up.
December 7th, December 7th, 1941 is the day Pearl Harbor was attacked.
Oh, see? There it is. Fucking A, man. This is 41. An attack. This is an attack on us. Yeah, this is crazy.
This is a nationalistic bullshit that we're getting from Japan right here.
Yeah, look at this. The fucking level
in the form
cap
of a
41. Like, that
really easy video game.
That was the best you were, is when we attacked you in 41. So weird. So fucking weird. Would you have liked to gain any of the weapons that the side characters own, like shurikens, bow and arrows, or the Morning Star? Absolutely. They were doing some sick damage until I caught up to them level-wise, and the bow and arrow is kind of tedious because you have to find more arrows for it, but the damage that was being done, I kind of wanted in on that, and we never got it.
The star one also had a limit, but you never hit it.
Ammo.
I never ran out of shit for that. For either of them.
I ran out of arrows one time. What was the most useless key item that you obtained in the game? I think the gas mask was useless since you don't need it at all to beat the dungeon you obtain it in. Yeah. That one was pretty dumb. It's like you just
Was there a gas mask?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
I think that was the one that made it so that you could see things, see enemies in the fog or something like that.
Oh, there was one where, you went through a whole dungeon, everybody was invisible, and then you took off the invisibility.
I just did it invisible, though. Like, I was like, man, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. Like, whatever.
It doesn't really change anything. It just makes it like a random battle in an old game.
Yeah, and that was kind of fun. You know, it brought back the random battles when you didn't use the item that they wanted you to use, which I totally didn't.
That's right.
So that kind of most of the key items were sort of useless in this thing. You don't really need it. It just makes it easier.
You got to get that elixir to get Kaylee.
Yeah, that one's useful. But other than that, it's just kind of like you want more visibility. If yes, then do this,
Yeah.
Last question. How would you rate the soundtrack to the other Final Fantasy game soundtracks?
It's overall not as good, but it has a couple really good tracks in it. So
yeah,
I guess not that high, but that was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. So we have an interesting one here. It's kind of a voicemail. I'm not sure how we want to go about doing this.
Hey guys, it's Greg Troyan from the band Lipstick Generation and the podcast The Lipstick Panel. Just hopping in real quick with this recording to say a couple things about Mystic Quest. So, I liked this game. I thought it was fun. My personal history with it was the last of the SNES Final Fantasy games that I played. So, I played 4, 5, and 6 before I got around to playing this one. It wasn't the last one I beat. The last one I beat was actually Final Fantasy VI. I wasn't aware of this game until I was in high school. Didn't really know much about it other than the game had a really bad reputation as being one of the worst Final Fantasy games ever and one of the worst video games ever and it's trash and it's terrible, but the soundtrack is the only thing that's good in that game. And checked out the soundtrack, thought it was pretty cool. Sounded more like Mega Man than Final Fantasy, but I thought, this is a cool soundtrack, so I listened to the soundtrack before I played any of the game, but I thought the soundtrack was good and added it to my playlist. I played the game about a year ago to completion, and I had a lot of fun. It's the story is pretty simple, but it's enjoyable, and I think if you just fleshed out the dialogue a little bit more, it could have been more engaging. But as it stands, I was fine with it for a simple, cute little RPG. The world was fun. It had enjoyable exploration. I liked the puzzle solving. I liked the color palette. I thought the graphics were charming and looked great. I thought the platforming elements were really enjoyable and a great addition to the series. All the stuff on the map with the different weapons and gadgets, I thought those were cool. The big weakness of the game, in my opinion, is that you only control 2 party members at once, which is less engaging for RPG players who are used to controlling, usually at least 3 members, so 2 seems very limiting. But you know what? The game had a lot of charm. It made me smile. It reminded me of, SNES game. It's a SNES game, and it feels like a SNES game, and it's really fun. Gives you that warm, fuzzy, nostalgic feeling, and I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, and it, is it the deepest video game experience I've had? No. Is it one of the best Final Fantasy games? No. But if you're looking for just a fun, old-school RPG in terms of vibe, but don't want something that's just brutal, this is just a fun, breezy, enjoyable game where it's sincerely just fun. I think that this game could be really awesome if they had a remake, enhance the graphics, allowing you control more party members, making it a little bit harder and fleshing out the story. But as it stands, a really fun retro game. Quick housekeeping. I want to note that Final Fantasy Legend 3 has the same composer, director, producer, essentially the exact same development team worked on Final Fantasy Legend 3 as this game. And so they worked on Final Fantasy Legend 3 and then worked on Mystic Quest, and the graphics are very similar. There's a jumping mechanic like in this game. The music, obviously the same composer, has a very similar vibe. So gameplay-wise, it's very similar, but instead of controlling just 2 party members, you have a 4-person party with sometimes a 5th guest character you control. So I haven't really gotten too far into it. I do plan on beating FF Legend and reviewing it for UFF, but just haven't had the time with all the stuff Lipstick Generation's been doing. But just wanted to throw that out there, that this game is definitely very much continuing the legacy of FF Legend 3, especially with that jump mechanic and how similar the sprites look and the music. It's very obvious that this is a continuation from Legend 3, and I'm going to be interested to compare the two because, part of my critique is that my few gripes with this game is that the story is limited and the gameplay is a little bit too simple. So with a more complex story and controlling 4 characters, I'll see how Legend 3 stacks up in comparison. But I do have a question for the gentleman the real host of the show, not the fake host like myself and Steve. Do you think that this game deserves the harsh reaction it has gotten? I mean, obviously, it's not as good as Final Fantasy V, and there are people who are upset that we got this game instead of Final Fantasy V. But I think this game has a lot to offer, and I know there are a lot of people who think that the only thing that this game offers of merit is the soundtrack, but I think it has an enjoyable world. I think it's got a fun little story, and I really enjoy just the overall presentation of the game. So do you think this game deserves the harsh reaction it has gotten? And do you think this game offers anything of merit aside from the soundtrack? Thanks, and looking forward to hearing the rest of your review. Later, guys.
All right, I guess I'll answer this first. I think the game does deserve some of the harshness. I mean, you mentioned some of it's possibly stemming from the fact that we didn't get Final Fantasy V here, but we got Mystic Quest. And in those, I don't know, in that line of thinking, I can kind of see why this game would get the flack it does. And honestly, this is a pretty positive review of the game, but I don't think this game is really all that great. I mean, it has some things to offer, but it's too easy. The story's not very interesting, and the only interesting gameplay elements that I see aren't necessarily original to Final Fantasy, and I've seen done better in other games, on other series. So I kind of think it's right about where it needs to be, which is sort of where Famitsu, maybe not as bad as Famitsu rated it when it first came out, but I don't think this is really that great of a Final Fantasy game, to be completely honest. Like, I know there's not a whole lot to rail on, but I can see why it's gotten the reaction that it has gotten. But what do you think, Joe?
I mean, we're going to go into our overall here after we talk about Legacy, but yeah, I don't know if it deserves some of the flack that it's. Okay, well, sometimes it is listed as like the worst or one of the worst Final Fantasy games, and I don't believe that is the case, because we have, in fact, I think we are now at this point where we could say we can have an opinion about this. And it is not the worst Final Fantasy game, for sure. It's not. However, it's also not a great Final Fantasy game. I'd say it's like a pretty whitewashed version, pretty vanilla version of the other Final Fantasy games that were around this time, and it is not nearly as good as any of those. And a remake of this game would just be like, oh, we're going to take the Four Crystals concept and expand
and do it again.
And it's like,
yeah,
we already have that. We have much better versions of that, and I can't imagine that this game has much more to offer than just like, oh yeah, it was alright. It was alright for 20 hours.
Right.
Now I'm good. Now I can move on. So no, there's not enough substance here to be like. It's not like Crystal Bears, which is a game that has a lot of promise in one direction and then fails in a lot of other directions. This game has no promise in any direction.
Yeah.
Because it's mediocre in all facets.
This is the jack of all trades, master of none Final Fantasy, pretty much is what we're getting at.
Yeah. So I don't have a strong opinion about the game because of that, but also that means that I can't even like put that much care into like I don't care about this game that much.
Yeah.
There's nothing to like rail on either because it's just, it's fine, it's easy. Whatever. This is what I imagine many of the mobile FF titles are like, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But thank you for your review and your question. So, is that our last question?
Yes, I do believe that is all of the questions so far.
All right. Well, then we got like 2 reviews on Hogib, right? Or not Hogib, I'm sorry. On our forums.
Yeah, we do, and we also have one from the Facebook page. I think I'll read the Facebook one first here. So, Alex here says, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest is the hidden gem in the Final Fantasy spin-off games. The game is unique in its own way. You can't walk anywhere on the world map, only to locations that have a pre-designed path to a set location. There's no MP system, just a group usage system on 3 different types of magic spells. The items are easy to obtain in the game since all treasure chests with these items respawn when you leave the area. There is no random battle encounters, which is the best thing in the game. You can skip certain enemies that give you trouble and only fight enemies that you can have an advantage over. Certain monsters have specific weaknesses to weapons and magic types, which makes switching weapons mid-battle a fun experience. The boss battles are done well and could be tough if you aren't leveled enough to withstand their attacks. The story is very simple. Restore all the crystals in the game and prevent the final boss from ruling the world. The music in the game is one of the best in the Final Fantasy series. There are so many catchy tunes and easy to hum along to them in the game. This is a soundtrack you can listen to anywhere. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest is an underrated game for its easiness and straightforward paths in the game, but it's a game everyone should experience at least once.
All right, let's get to Rude Rose's question. Rude Rose says, I love this game. It was one of the first ones I ever played on the Super Nintendo. I recently replayed it as a refresher, and it was just as enjoyable as I remember. The game is very simple in all aspects, and I think it's the better for it. The story and characters have a good sense of humor. I particularly enjoy the old man who will spout the next plot point to you and fly away, leaving your hero just to look at the camera and shrug. Oh, yeah, that's true. I do like that stuff. That was pretty funny. I know Joe made a tweet about this, but I have always enjoyed that your hero's allowance is 2 GP a month. Oh, that's right. Shit, they talk about the price of something, and then the hero goes, but my allowance is only 2 gil a month. And I made some sort of statement about how our brave hero has an allowance. It's just amazing. We never see his parents the whole game. The enemies, he says, are one of the best features in the game. I love that you can not only see them on the dungeon map, with some tricks thrown in at the volcanoes and the ice palace, but you can also see what type they mostly are. The enemies have several animations they go through as they are hurt. These animations are incredibly clever. The snake ladies start off with a menacing glare and forward hand, only for them to grab their bald heads in shock when they lose their snakes. The 3-headed hounds slumping to the ground and waving a white flag on their tail is so endearing. The bosses get multiple phases as well. Watching the ice golem go from frosty sentinel to slowly getting melted into a puddle of goo is so satisfying. It also gives you great feedback on how the battle is progressing and how much you have hurt the boss. The music is excellent. The overworld theme is very upbeat and triumphant. Most towns have very calming sonata that makes you feel safe. The battle music is really energetic and has some great melody lines in it. The boss battles also sound like that next level of hardship that will keep you pumped from beginning to end. I also really like the sound effects. The swing of the sword, the harsh chop of the axe, the tick-tick-tick of Phoebe's arrows finding their mark, the otherworldly sound of casting flare, or the crack-a-thoom of casting thunder. They all sound great, and it's the extra level of satisfaction when you defeat an enemy that they fade away with that sound. And while it's not the Final Fantasy fanfare, though let's face it, this game is FF loose tie-in only, there is a nice little victory theme for completing a battle. I love the way you interact with the world outside of the battle. Being able to hop everywhere gives this game the extra level of exploration, which is appreciated. It's also fun using your weapons by interacting with the world. Blowing up cracked walls with bombs or chopping through trees with the axe is great. Although my favorite is using the Dragon Claw to zip across large gaps. Oh yeah, remember that. The only real part of this game I thought could have been better were the battlefields. Some of them actually give you something really strong, like a brand new piece of armor or one of the 12 spells in the game, but the others don't feel like they have much reward for going through 10 of the battles. Sure, the game is very easy, including the ability to save on the spot, but it wasn't trying to be anything but. They stripped down a lot of the RPG experience to make a simple, straightforward, and breezy game experience. I think this game is a great play, and I'm glad that its main title is Mystic Quest, because it really has little to do with Final Fantasy. Some random thoughts. I couldn't help but laugh when the hero says to Captain Mac in the ending, "How about lending me that ship? I need a little more adventures in my life." More adventure? Dude, you just saved the entire world and defeated the Dark King. You just finished the biggest adventure there is. Also, where are you going to go? I've seen that world map and it's not that big. I already explored all of it. That ocean barely goes around Windia. You're just going to be doing circles at sea. Phoebe tells you to see the world for me, and I'm like, we did, several times over. This made me laugh when I beat it again recently. Also, when I was a young lad playing this game for the first time, my brother pointed out to me that if you climb into a bed, equip the sword, aim your character towards the screen, /down on the bed, you can spam the A button to keep thrusting your sword out. Since you are in bed, it looks like a long shaft keeps poking out from under the sheets.
Fuck?
Wow. I've probably spent way too much time doing that and laughing at it like Beavis and Butthead as a child. Also, one of my childhood crushes /sweetheart was named Kylie, so I always had a soft spot for that ally. That's all for me, gents.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's great. I do.
You got one on your end?
Final Fantasy, this is from Alex again. He sent us a message on Facebook. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest is the hidden gem in the Final Fantasy spin-off games. The game is unique in its own way. You can't walk anywhere on the world map, only the locations that have a pre-designed path to a set location. There is no MP, just a group usage system on 3 different types of magic spells. The items are easy to obtain in the game, since all treasure chests with these items respawn when you leave the area. There are no random battle encounters, which is the best thing in the game. You can skip certain enemies that give you trouble and only find enemies that you can have an advantage over. Certain monsters have specific weaknesses to weapons and magic types, which makes switching weapons mid-battle a fun experience. The boss battles are done well and could be tough if you aren't leveled enough to withstand their attacks. Story's simple. Restore the crystals. Stop the final boss. Music is one of the best in the series. So many catchy tunes, easy to hum along with in the game. Soundtrack you can listen to anywhere. Mystic Quest is an underrated game for its easiness and straightforward paths in the game, but it's a game everyone should experience at least once. He also asked a bunch of questions after that. Yeah, we already did.
Which we already answered. All right. Cool, thanks, Alex. A for Extreme says, "Truly, this is the Dark Souls of the Final Fantasy franchise. Japan knew their bitch-made game Final Fantasy V was too simple and easy for the legion of hot-blooded, muscle-clad, virile American gamers of the mid-90s, so they made a special, extra difficult version of Final Fantasy to test our mettle. You only get a maximum of 2 party members, which means you'll be outnumbered in a majority of cases. Allies can't change their weapons, which means your main character is going to have to become a one-man army strategist in order to quickly dispatch your foes. Enemy encounters are finite, which means the coward's tactic of quote-unquote grinding does not apply here. Nearly every enemy outside of the starting area has at least one attack which inflicts a status ailment, and they can and will use them against you at every opportunity. And those sneaky Japanese must be fudging the numbers on your character's accuracy stats because your party member will miss roughly every other
So
hit.
true.
While enemies rarely do, especially if they're hitting you with status besides Doom. Turn order also seems to be completely randomized despite any speed stats, leading to scenarios where enemies will get to turn priority before you use an item or a healing spell, or where enemies will get to heal themselves for full health, mind you, between your party members' attacks, negating any progress you'd make attempting to slay them. This game is hardcore with a capital hard. Okay. This game is tailored to America through and through. Navigation on the world map is handled automatically since they knew hardened American men would be playing this game, and the last thing we want to do is stop and ask for directions. Soda pop is an item you can get, called refreshers, as I'm sure some sponsorship with Coca-Cola must have fallen through. The Inn and Firebug hosts a rock band that plays Johnny Be Good bootleg as if they were a Marty McFly at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. The rock and metal stylings of the battle music slap so hard my SNES still has handprints on its yellow ass. Sorry, let me repeat that. The rock and metal stylings of the battle music slap so hard my SNES still has red handprints on its yellow ass.
Man, that is good.
And Mystic Quest is also the first and only Final Fantasy themed wrestling game with enemies using such with enemies using such attacks as neck choke, pile driver, and full Nelson. It's almost as good as a Def Jam Vendetta. Also, a lot of the enemies must be goth kids in the late 80s because they kept using, quote, the cure. Overall, this Final Fantasy bleeds red, white, and blue in every sense. Only the most seasoned gamers like myself will collect all of the weapons, magic, and armor to defeat the Dark King. Sure, I had to call the Nintendo Power Hotline. Sure, I had to call the Nintendo Power Hotline and rack up my parents' phone bill to get through the Doom Castle. But that's just because the tile sets are kind of garbage, and it was hard to tell where to go in the Air Crystal Room. I give this game 3 out of 5 Texas Roundhouse baskets of bread and cinnamon butter. Wow, that was a really good review from A for Extreme. I don't think it's that difficult, but thank you for your review.
Thanks, man. That was great. Fucking red handprint on its yellow ass. Fuck, that was a great fucking moment.
I don't know why. I guess he should be hosting the show or something like that.
Era of Ultima. Yeah, here you go.
Here you go. Do we have any other reviews?
I think that's it, unless we have something on Twitter. I don't remember seeing anything on Twitter, though.
Well, while you're checking that, let me turn my page here. So, last thing we kind of got to get to here is the legacy of the game. So, it sold 800,000 units when it came out. That was both in about half of those units were in Japan and half of that was elsewhere. So I don't know if it really made the huge dent that they were looking for in America, but there you go. It was praised by many for the musical soundtrack, including our reviewers here. But it did receive pretty bad scores on release, including a 23 out of 40 on Famitsu, which is interesting because we just had a discussion about how Famitsu always gives scores in the high 30s, and this is, if that's the case, man, the guys doing the Famitsu reviews must have had a bad week for this game. 23 out of 40. That's insane. That's insanely low. It was listed as the worst Final Fantasy game by Kotaku, even though that website is bullshit.
Yeah.
God, fuck Kotaku. And was in an April Fool's article on GameSpot in their top 10 Final Fantasy list. So, sarcastically, top 10 Final Fantasy. So not a great legacy. Obviously, we've had a few reviews here saying that it's a hidden gem, or at least that there's a lot of great things about it and that it's really not that bad. Schweiss, is that about where you've heard about this game before? Is it just kind of like super easy, kind of lame?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've got. I did find another couple reviews. A few people did post stuff on Twitter. So we can get a little bit more insight before we talk about that. Explicit Baron tweeted us. Sorry, I should have checked these. I remembered that we had them and I pulled them up, but
I mean,
let's see what the legacy is to
anyway,
these last few people.
Let's get a couple
So
more.
Explicit Baron says, if you were to create a hypothetical trophies for it, what would be some of them? This would be like an easy-ass platinum. This would be like an FF15. It would just be collect all the items. Probably reach level 41 or 42, whatever the bullshit level was. And
you can, this game's easy enough. You could just, like, literally everything that you can check off
it
in
would
the game.
Just a bunch of trophies that are really fucking
put it
easy.
on the trophy list. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Stuff like that. Angry Ass Black Dude says, just finished. Don't have time to write a review, but here's quick thoughts. Story is basically dude tells you to save crystals, people randomly join your party and leave. Battle system with weapon switching rules. Ben's what do you want from me sprite makes this game a 10 out of 10. Oh, and FF15's battle system feels like it was inspired by Mystic Quest. I don't know. I mean, maybe the switching, but...
Really?
That's like a loose... I suppose. I feel like if anything was... If this game was influential in any way... I don't know. I don't know if it's that. Fuck, there was something else that I was thinking, like, oh, this game was probably the first one to do this. I guess maybe for the series, just using your weapons the way you use them, because you don't really do that in Final Fantasy very often. You know, I guess FF3 had a few times where you'd have to turn yourself into a frog and stuff. I don't know. I think that's kind of loose, the 15 connection thing.
I'm not sure.
I think it's just
like
because you could
explanation
swap
on
your
what it
weapons
means
and
by
like
that.
certain weapons do more against certain enemies. But that's almost just adding an elemental aspect to your weapons. At least it's the same thing as doing that. His character name was Angry N.
Okay.
That's pretty funny. And he got level 37 when he beat it, so... Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it.
Angry and extra mad.
I don't
but
get
I
it.
mean, we only get like 6 slots, so...
Angry N?
I don't know. New Zealander? No, he's from California, though. That's what he said.
It's weird.
Angry in the Bay Area? Who could say? So, Bill asks if do we think it needs a remake or just a port to the Switch? Honestly, I don't think it needs either, necessarily, but...
I don't think...
Nobody's really going to play
need
this
a remake,
thing.
guys. Come on. What the fuck? All right, this is the 16th time I've heard this on this fucking podcast today. We don't need this fucking remake, guys. We don't need remakes of any of these games. Just port them on the new system and make sure they work well. So, that's it. There we go. No need. Port on the Switch. Sounds good.
Yeah, I agree. There's not really anything else to say. It's fucking, sure. Put it on the Switch, put it on the PlayStation. I think we should port every one of these goddamn games, at least every couple gens, and...
I agree. We should port them all. Like the bigger titles for like $15, the smaller titles for like $10 or maybe $10 or to $5 or whatever. And then there's like a bundle pack for like $300. You get every.
Yeah, that'd be
Final
awesome.
Fantasy.
You get to play it on your new console, and then you can listen to some Ultima Final Fantasy reviewing some
yeah,
real
dude.
niche motherfucking games. It'll work out real nice.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Square, I could make you millions of dollars.
That's
You
true.
Just fucking listen to me. Remember what Disney did in the 90s? They kept on re-releasing their fucking movies. They're still doing it. They're kind of still doing it now.
They are.
With remakes. Just like continually. Every like I think it was every 7 years for Disney. They put out a new fucking home edition of their stuff. Like once every console, every single fucking game you guys have at Square Enix. Fucking re-release it for the newer consoles on the web, like the PlayStation Network and the stores, like the Xbox
Yeah, just make it a
store and
download. You don't have to
the Wii
invest
store.
in discs or anything. Like,
No. And mobile phones, fuck, if mobile phones can play FF13, they can play every
Yeah.
Final Fantasy game.
Yeah,
up
there's
to
a lot of them in
FF13,
there.
So, come on, guys, come on, Square.
I
Get
know.
on
Don't
this
you like
shit.
money, Square?
Whatever. I've killed this subject enough. Like,
No, that's it for the tweet.
any others? Oh, okay. All right. What are your thoughts on the legacy?
for me,
then?
it's always been
swing
like a
it back.
game that a lot of people have played, but not a lot of people feel like others need to play. So the legacy, in my eyes, is it's not really that loved. It's just kind of a game that they went for. It's the first spin-off title, surprisingly early in the series. To be honest, it's kind of incredible that they decided to go this way as early as they did. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
really
only
talked
5
about a
years
whole
in.
lot, other than the fact that everyone says it's really fucking easy and not that long. Which that part's a lie, but the easiness is not a lie at all. It's an easy ass game.
No, and I do feel like the time is a little bit. I don't know. I don't feel like I played 21 hours, but maybe I did. But yeah, it is. I agree. Yeah, everybody says it's just super easy, and it is. It's a very easy Final Fantasy game, and in my view, refreshingly easy. Honestly, but it was a nice little break to have the two theater rhythms.
Yeah.
In this game, it was nice. Four Heroes of Light is making me pay for it a little bit.
Is it?
Just a little. But, yeah, I've gotten to a few spots in Four Heroes of Light that have been multi-hour grind and look for better equipment.
That's exactly what I
Sort of
love hearing.
situations.
Multi-hour
So-
grind.
Yeah.
It's good.
Grind
Yeah, hell
and
yeah.
and equipment updates. Yeah, love it. Love it. But yeah, Schweiss, I guess we've got to wrap up this review. Overall thoughts on Final Fantasy Mystic Quest?
It's okay. I don't really want to play this game again ever, though. Like, it's one of those ones that I'm like, I think I'm kind of done. You know, I don't know if it has enough going for it to warrant another playthrough. Like, maybe if they re-released it and it had trophies, I'd probably do it, but it's kind of grueling in a bunch of ways. Like, it's kind of a slow game, which is weird because you can sort of pick and choose the battles, but in a lot of ways you have to go through almost everything in most areas, and it just seems like excessive. Like, it seems like it's padded out to be longer than it actually needs to be, which isn't really that long, but there's not really much going on in the story to really pull me in and make me want to, commit to this game. So I was kind of fairly positive on it in the beginning, and then as I got further and further along, I started to not like the game as much as I did in the end. There are certainly some great things about it. There's a couple great tracks in there that, of course, Theater Rhythm brought in as well. But I mean, Yeah,
So you could
the
just play
game
theater.
doesn't really offer you a
what you're
whole
saying.
lot in terms of like uniqueness with the game, and what it does offer isn't really enough to make me view this game as anything more than just an okay Final Fantasy. And I was surprised by that, because in the beginning I was having a lot of fun, but just as it went on, it just felt like it was a lot, and it gave you all of these grinding areas, and then it didn't seem like it really mattered because the game was just super, super, super easy, you know? And so there's a lot of things that they could have done a little bit better, and maybe the game would have been more enjoyable. But for me, honestly, guys, like, this is a skippable Final Fantasy. Like, it really is. It's cool to go back to that old school game, but the only reason why I would suggest doing so is if you want to do what we've done, you know, if you're trying to go through all of the Final Fantasy games. Otherwise, I don't think this is really a necessary play for me personally. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the easiness is refreshing, and certainly I wouldn't stop someone from playing this because it's so easy and it's so forgiving that it's not like you're going to have a terrible time in this game. It doesn't have much of a story. Its gameplay is not really that like expansive or interesting. So it's not like super fun either. I just say that it's kind of mediocre. And I don't know what the bigger sin is. Obviously, I don't think this is... I don't even think this is bottom 5 Final Fantasy games, but it's certainly bottom quarter of the games. But it's only because it just, like, there's nothing outside of, you know, 3 or 4 songs in the soundtrack. There's nothing, like, great in this game. And there's also nothing, like, so terrible that it puts it on the bottom of the list. I mean, it's just fine. It's just, you know, it's a kid's game, and that's kind of how it feels. Everything that you get in this game is made better in the main series Final Fantasy
both
games.
before and after this game's release.
Yeah. And so I don't agree with Kotaku that it's the worst of all Final Fantasies. I feel like they have never played Dirge of Cerberus or some of the Crystal Chronicle, like the deep Crystal Chronicle games that we have. Actually, the first Crystal Chronicle game.
No, dude. No. That last one is abysmal.
Yeah. Oh, the last one. Gameplay-wise, I can totally see the last one being
I don't know if
Final
it's the
Fantasy
worst
game.
Final Fantasy game. But
I still... Okay, we had this debate the other night off mic. We were like, which one is going to be the worst? And I'll be honest, I am having trouble deciding which Final Fantasy is the worst. But what I am saying is that all of those games are more interesting than this game. But this game is technically better than all those games. So, I don't know. Kotaku, I think, they must have thought, if someone had, in fact, played all the named Final Fantasy games like we're about to finish up doing, then they would, maybe they're seeing this as like, it's so mediocre and nothing is going on with this game. It's so easy. There's just nothing interesting about this game whatsoever, that it's just the worst Final Fantasy. I could see that as being like a way to call something the worst, but to me, that's not the worst. The worst is the worst. The worst is the lowest of the lows.
yeah.
This game is not that. So it's fine. It's fine, but it doesn't stick with you at all. And it also has 0 replayability value. If we were doing Nude Clan scores, I'd give the replayability like a 2 out of 10. Like, you can go get some weapons maybe the Cure Tome that you missed, and that's about it. There's nothing else to explore in the game, so there's nothing really great about it. There's nothing terrible either. So, mediocre.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I mean, I don't know. It's I'm looking at fucking Metacritic.com, and they have all of the Final Fantasies Metacritics, and let's see, 50. So a bunch of them didn't have the 7 reviews required for an actual score, but the lowest one on theirs is Crystal Defenders, which we don't really count. And then above that is Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII. And then Echoes of Time.
Oh.
Which is the one we liked, actually.
Really?
Yeah, that's the Lazy Port one that I think we both put as the best.
It's the Lazy Port one.
And then it's Crystal Bearers, which is
best
bullshit.
Crystal Chronicles.
FF11.
No.
On 360. I guess.
What? Maybe. No. FF11 is way higher than that.
13 on 360 is 83. Oh, 11, OG 11 is 85. Okay, I was like, are you kidding me? 11's way better than fucking 60-something. So, I mean, it's not all the way down there. I don't actually see where it is on this list, but I think we had a score, it's like a 67 on Game Rankings, which is an aggregate kind of thing. It's kind of the same thing, so that's fairly low. I mean,
okay.
But I mean, not a lot of people played the game. It looks like there were only a couple publications that have reviews for this game.
Yeah, it's an older game, so
exactly, yeah, and it's like it's one of those things where it's, you know, they just didn't have enough people talking about it at the time. So I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Schweiss.
I mean,
there's no ranking
what are the other
in the show?
Super standalones. I mean, we don't really have any, do we?
There's only these 4 standalones that aren't connected to another series. Like, there's no sub-series or anything. It's just Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy The Four Heroes of Light, Final Fantasy Explorers, and World of Final Fantasy. These 4 games that we're on are the only totally disconnected games.
We could consider Type 0 disconnected, because it's connected thematically with the gods, but it's not even the same world. So that would be like us connecting 7 and 10, having like a 7, 10, 10, 2.
It was made and they connected it. That's how it was. It's a little different. Like, they still have Falsey and Lucy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's like a thing. And it's supposed to be not on the same planet, but in the same universe.
If we believe After Years, all of them are connected, right? So we should have had the Uber list the entire time.
That's true. So After Years is actually the last game.
It's the big,
that's what you're saying.
Moment of the whole series. It's actually all connected.
That's right.
Fucking stupid.
But yeah, there's nothing to rank unless you want to rank those 4 games against each other. But probably, yeah, we will in the end. That's true. At the end of all this, we will be ranking
I kind of think we should rank
titles.
the standalones against each other and then do the Uber rank.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, this is number 1.
1 of 1. You heard it here.
Out of 1. I'm pretty sure it's going to be number 2.
Yeah.
Next time. I don't think we're going to have a review next time, guys. I think this game's going to be a little bit longer than that. By the way, I'm talking about 4 Heroes of Light. Yeah. So you'll get a nice little. You get a regular episode. Next time.
It's been so long. So thank you guys again.
So, is this our fourth review in a
we
row?
had Theater Rhythm. I believe it is, yeah. So we had Dissidia, NT, Theater Rhythm, then dude. Curtain Call, then this. Yeah, this will be 4 in a row.
Oh, shit, dude. We've never done
these
like
also, we've never
crazy.
had a round of 4 games in a row that are this short.
This was 20-something hours. Dissidia was 20-something. Theater Rhythm. One of the Theater Rhythm was like 16 hours. No, that's not even
15
true.
hours long. Come on.
The difference is that these games were easy, and we chose to
plow
get through them quickly. We chose to plow. Because we had, I had the opportunity, and you followed suit.
We
plowed. And we will continue to plow until the end of June. So, guys, thank you for listening so much. Really appreciate all you guys who've supported the show and who've helped us with content and with feedback and just talking to us on Twitter and becoming kind of friends with us throughout all these 5 years of doing the show.
It's been awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, just seeing all the people that we've kind of brought together, that's like my favorite part, is just seeing all of the people of the community. I mean, we've got multiple individuals that met each other through us and have started podcasts because of them both listening to Ultima. And that's crazy to me. That's like insane, and it's stuff like that I love seeing. And that's why I love doing it, and that's why even when the weekly show ends, we're still going to come back and we're still going to do episodes on these games. And that's the biggest reason why we keep doing it. For me, at least, it's really cool seeing you guys interact with each other.
Sorry to cut you off. I would like all those who have made a podcast in some way because of listening to us to make sure that you list us as executive producers and thank us every episode personally. I would and make sure you link us, and every time you do it, like do some top 10 lists and make sure you put me or Schweiss.
Yeah, of course,
somewhere. For whatever it is. Like top 10, fancy dressers, whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. As long as you really show that you appreciate us, I would.
I agree. I completely agree with that. 100%.
Yes. And if you agree with that or don't agree with that, you can tweet me at Joseph Goulier. Our website is ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can click through the Amazon link. We'll get a small kickback there. You can support us on Patreon. Thank you so much to our Patreon donors. The reason we're going to be able to go to New York and the reason our feed is going to be kept up is because of you guys. So thank you so much for that support. And you can check out our other podcast. The Godzilla podcast is recording in 2 days from when I'm recording this. So the Godzilla podcast listeners that haven't heard us in 3 months, you should be hearing.
Yeah,
from
that's
us
awesome. That's great.
Something happens. And that's all my other podcasts. Schweiss,
I am doing Nude Clan, another video game podcast. We just barely reviewed Devil May Cry 5. We've got a bunch of gaming reviews on there, film reviews of video game movies, and sometimes just Star Wars and other random shit that we feel like talking about. You can check that out. It's kind of like the sister show to this. We've also got a song of Schweiss and Johnson for A Few Chickens More. It's a Game of Thrones podcast where we cover in depth each episode of Game of Thrones. We're about halfway through season 5, and this weekend we're going to be recording our reactions and discussing the final episode of the series that aired this past Sunday. So if you want to hear our thoughts on that, that's a great place to go. You can just check that out anywhere you get your podcasts. And, of course, Super Sexy Swingin' Fan Fiction. We did Getting Fat with Caleb and Joe. That still exists. It's also a great place to get updates on Joe's movie, which a lot of you guys did help out with. And we got a new update today talking about post-production and things of that nature. So that's coming along nicely. Oh, I got an email.
We did not get another update today. Oh, you got an email from the Indiegogo page. I have. See, now I have
is that
to do
not
one.
an update? Wait, what?
No, that's not a podcast update. That's an update to Indiegogo. Just I hadn't posted the other stuff. I looked at my Indiegogo page because I was like, oh, some of these rewards I got to start like.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about the
figuring out how
podcast. I was just talking about the movie itself.
Oh yeah, well you talked about
yeah.
Getting Fat with Caleb and Joe, and then you were like, then you said there was an update. I'm like, no, there's not. The last one was part 7.
So we got that
ago.
going on, and I think that's. I mean, we got, I guess, Puff Puff Hour, a couple friends of ours. It's not really anything we're on. They do a Dragon Quest podcast that's kind of like a spiritual successor to this in a way that is not involved with us at all, basically. But, still a spiritual successor. They go through all the Dragon Quest games. And that's about it for our network. That's everything we've got. What more do you people fucking want from us? Like, that's all I got to say.
Man. I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
All right,
Until
guys.
next time.
We'll talk to you later.
Enjoy next week's regular episode. Grind.